In today's video, I'll be transforming this unfinished, neglected space in my kitchen into a clean, finished space that is now organized to store and display all of my baking supplies. My name is Christine. I've been remodeling my house room by room for the past year. If you're not subscribed and enjoy DIY home improvement, DIY home decor, cleaning and organization, inspiration and motivation, then please make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on the notifications because I have a lot more extreme room transformations coming up. The only words that I can think of to describe this corner is hot mess. I mean, it is a disaster. Actually, I'm editing this video 2 weeks after I completed this project, and it's weird. We still step over that flooring. We still haven't got used to flooring being down there. And as you'll see later on in the video, the flooring makes such a big difference in this corner. Well, actually, everything makes a big difference in this corner. This corner is going to be completely transformed by the end of this video into something that I actually didn't even think that I would ever have in my kitchen. But let's get started so you can see what I'm talking about. The first thing that I had to do is obviously clear out the entire corner. And normally cleaning doesn't excite me, but I actually was excited to clean out this corner because most of it went in the trash. That pantry cabinet back there has food in there from years ago. I haven't gone through that cabinet in years, and there's a ton of expired food. I would say I only kept probably about maybe 15-20% of what's in that cabinet because everything else was expired. And I hated having to throw all this food away because there's a lot of good food in there. But the truth is that this past year I have become horrible at menu planning. I do use Instacart for my groceries, and most of the time I'm doing it on my phone at lunch at work, and I'm not at home, so I don't know what I have in the kitchen at that moment. So then I order things, and then I end up with 10 cans of green beans, and then we don't have any corn, or, it's just, that is a goal of mine in 2022. I definitely want to step up my game on meal planning and groceries. As I already said, we already know that this corner was a hot mess, but now that it's cleared out, it was so gross. It hasn't been cleaned. So the first thing that I'm going to do is work on the walls. I'm going to get those all patched up and painted. And I'm going to clean everything first also. Most of the holes in the wall were small, but there were 2 larger ones, and I had to use the repair patches for those. These are just adhesive, and you just put them on the wall, put your spackle over it, and wait for it to dry, then sand it. And then you just do that until you are satisfied with the look. I did have to do it twice, so I applied the patches, put the spackle on it, let it dry, and then I sanded it, put more spackle on it, waited for it to dry, and then sanded it again, and then it was smooth enough to my liking.
2 a.m. in the morning, I'm in my story smoking, catching my breath. I can feel my skin burning. You light the fire in me, got no regrets. Can't forget, you got me wrapped around it. You feel me, your body wrapped around me. Good mistakes, oh, you got me looped about it. You and me.
While the spackle dried on the walls, I decided to go ahead and rip up the floor. And a lot of times when you rip up a floor, especially in a new house, a new house to you, when you rip up a floor, a lot of times you don't know what you're going to find. And when I first ripped up this floor, when I started doing it throughout the house, I was completely shocked at that flooring underneath. It's hideous. It really is hideous to me, especially when it is all throughout the house. I hope this trend never comes back in style because hideous is just the only word I can think of. But I already knew what I was getting into. So there is a subfloor, and then there's the vinyl flooring. Underneath the subfloor is a lot of, I'm not sure, I guess they were screws. They were weird screws, but so for the flooring, I'm just ripping everything out, and there was a transition molding that led into the other room there. I had to remove that. And I'm just using my multi-tool here because there was caulking that was making it where I couldn't pull the floor up. So that multi-tool, I've talked about it before. I use it for almost every project for something because it can be used for so many different purposes. Before painting, cleaning these walls was a must. And I'm not sure if you can see, actually in the spot right here, they were dirty. They have not been cleaned in a long time. And it felt really good to get this space cleaned.
You got me losing sleep. I am in too deep, like an overdose. You're the antidote. Losing sleep. I am in too deep. No matter where I hide, you got me sleep deprived. Blow my mind with a warning. You digging deep within me. I feel obsessed. I can't help myself falling into the widest ocean again. Can't forget. You got me wrapped around it. You feel me, your body wrapped around me. Good mistakes. Oh, you got me looped about it. You and me, you got me losing sleep. I am in too deep, like an overdose. You're the antidote. Losing sleep. I am in too deep. No matter where I hide, you got me sleep deprived.
Moving on to the flooring, the first thing that I had to lay down was the underlayment. And I was so excited to get to this flooring because this is the very last section in my house that needed to be done. I already did the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. So I can finally put away all the scrap pieces of wood after I finish this area right here. The flooring I'm using it's called Waveford Gray Oak, and I got it at Home Depot. It's a laminate plank flooring, and it was so easy to install. All I needed was I just bought an install kit that had all the pieces that I needed, the spacers, the mallet, not sure what that black thing is called that I'm holding on to right there, but it came with that, and then the other black piece that you see there. And that's all I needed, except of course I'm using my miter saw to cut the planks. I don't have any video of that because it was cold and raining, so I didn't want to bring the tripod and the camera and everything outside. But I'm just using my miter saw and cutting the planks, and they just lock right into each other.
Every change has a reason. Baby, let it come to you. Every soul, every season lives outside of status quo. If we stop believing we're meant to be, expanding our abilities.
Installing the floor is actually a pretty simple project until you come to a door frame or until you are at one of your last pieces up against a wall, and that's when it can get tricky. So right now I'm just using my multi-tool, the saw blade on the multi-tool, and I'm trimming the door molding because I want the flooring to go underneath the molding and not butt up against it. So It's too low right now, so I'm trimming it so it's higher, and I'm just using that scrap piece of wood as my guide. So once I trim the door frame molding up, then the floor will just slip right up underneath it, and it'll look seamless.
Passion's gone, we are doing it wrong. Baby, you and I should start living now. With the whole world at our feet, we could stay or we could leave. There is nothing in between. So baby, we should start living now. 'Cause we only have this life. Wanna laugh and wanna cry. I don't wanna waste my time. So baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now. We are close, can you feel it? Something is behind the clouds. We just have to believe it, that we can make the sun come out. Let us lose ourselves in a fairy tale. Who can say what's wrong or right? We're the only ones who can decide. Baby, you and I should start living now. With the whole world at our feet, we could stay or we could leave. There is nothing in between. So baby, we should start living now. 'Cause we only have this life. Wanna laugh and wanna cry. I don't wanna waste my time. So baby, we should start living now.
Now that I'm coming to the end close to the wall, it does get a little tricky here. And this is the part that I learned from a YouTube video. You can shave off. I'm using a chisel. A lot of people use a planer, and I have yet to find a planer tool at the hardware store. I'm not sure. I don't know where to look. But anyways, they suggest you use a planer to shave off the locking part of the floor plank. I'm not sure what that part is actually called, but on the planks themselves, when they lock together, there's a little wood. It's like a little hump, and you just shave that off, and then you can butt up the pieces together and not have to worry about locking it in, because it does get pretty tricky when you're at that last piece. The hideous yellow floor is now gone, and I'm moving on to the baseboard moldings. And I just, these are easy. You just have 45-degree angles, and I'm using my miter saw to cut the boards to length, and then using my brad nailer to nail them to the wall. My original plan for the pegboard was to spray paint it, and I did have a can of dark gray on hand, so that's what I tried at first, and that's what you see underneath the paint that I'm applying here. But it was too much, and when I say too much, I'm talking about the fumes. I did use the can, but it lingered, and this day I couldn't have opened the windows for the ventilation, but I still had some iron ore from Sherwin-Williams from when I did my buffet table, and I also used this color on the breakfast bar, so I went ahead and painted it with the iron ore. I think that's what it's called. I'll check for sure, but I'll link it below. To add some character to the pegboard, I wanted to frame it out, so I got some 1x2s, and I'm just painting them white. The only white paint I had on hand right then was some white chalk paint, which works just fine. So that's what I'm using, is just some white chalk paint, and I'll get these painted and hung up with my brad nailer.
I don't wanna waste my time. So baby, we should start living now.
The next step in my project was to add the labels to the jars, and I ordered the jars off of Amazon, and I made the labels on using my Cricut. Now at this point, if you haven't already realized from either the thumbnail picture or the intro, the pegboard wall is being turned into the area where all my baking supplies will be organized. And it took me probably 2 to 3 weeks to, in my head, figure out what I wanted to do with this corner. And I have a ton of baking supplies. They're all over the place. And to be honest, I'm not a baker. I love to cook. I cook a lot, but I rarely bake, but I can bake. And so my hope is now that I have everything organized, I will start baking more. And I'm sure my family would love that too. And especially now with Christmas coming up. We always do Christmas cookies every year, and this year I will not have to go everywhere looking for everything that I need. It will all be in one spot, so I'm excited for Christmas cookies this year.
I know it's a little bit too much for sure. So cold, but we're always coming back for more. Egos in this wicked game, it's all for sure. Oh, I've got you. If we figured out what it's all about, takes a second and then we're back it again. Coaster ride for the triggered minds, but I don't ever want us to stop it. Go ahead, to let me smile for all I care. Just wanna stay close, don't say that. Ain't gonna leave ya. So touch.
I'm now adding a shelf above the pegboard wall along with to put some baskets up there for storage. And the reason I wanted to do this is because, like I said, I have a ton of baking supplies. And one of the reasons I do have a lot is because I've done a lot of birthday parties and we do cupcake wars. So we had the kids make their, I made the cupcakes, so those were already prepared, and then I would give all the kids all of their little decorating supplies, and we would have a theme, and they would decorate their cupcakes, and then we would have competition at the end with a winner. Sometimes we didn't have a winner. It just depended on the age, but it was so much fun. But I have a ton of little rolling pins and sprinkles and cutters, and I have a lot. And I wanted everything stored in this corner, but of course I needed extra storage for that. So up in the baskets is where all the little rolling pins and all of the little extra things are gonna go.
Explode every time you go and slam the door. Adore how we always end up on the floor. We know how to push the buttons to the core. I've got you. If we figured out what it's all about, takes a second and then we're back it again. Coaster ride for the triggered minds, but I don't ever want us to stop it. Go ahead, to let me smile for all I care.
I ordered these shelves off of Amazon. It came in a pack of 6. They're pegboard wall shelves. I wasn't sure if they were going to work, and I also wasn't sure if they were going to be good quality, but I was super happy when they arrived because they're perfect. They're good quality, they're sturdy, and they were perfect. They were exactly what I needed to hold all the jars and canisters.
Remember when you told me you believe in something and you said you're done pretending that fate is patient. Go run away, get it out of your system. Come back when you're older. Go find a place where you can't be the victim. And come back when you're older. Go catch the storm within your broken bones.
Guest, I just got home from work. It is the final day. I am so ready to get this corner finished. So I just have the last few finishing touches to do, and then it will be complete. You may notice that there is a sign up there now, the Baked with Love sign. I made that and I did hang that and I filmed it, and I have no idea what happened because I do not have the footage. But anyways, that's where that sign came from. It was just something that I made with my Cricut, of course. I made all these labels again with my Cricut, and they're for the measuring spoons and cups. I've wanted to do this for a long time, and I've always planned on doing it inside of a cabinet so that, you know, when you open the cabinet, they're all on the door hanging. But I figured this was actually a perfect spot to finally do this project, and it'll make my life so much easier for not only baking, but for cooking also.
Summer's end, and you feel that this is your beginning. Will colors fade, but it's okay. There is good in changes. Go run away, get it out of your system. Come back when you're older. Go find a place where you can't be the victim. And come back when you're older. Go catch the storm within your broken.
Okay, so last night I made 2 signs to add. I made this one and this one. And I have to say, this is actually probably the worst sign that I have made. I'm just going to consider it rustic. I actually had to use a pencil to fill in some of the spots. The heart's not centered, but nobody's going to notice. I don't think anybody's going to notice. It's not my sign that I'm proud of, but I'm going to still use it. This was just from the Dollar Tree, so I just painted this gray and then just added a little distressing to it to blend it all together on the wall. So I'm just going to get these hung. Okay, that's not working. Strike 2. Now for the finishing touch. The space has come a long way, and the baking wall is now complete. I do still have more to do in this area. I want to add some shelving to the wall by the pantry. But for the most part, this area is complete now. I am so ready to get started baking, although it has been 2 weeks now that it's been complete and I have yet to bake anything. But it is the weekend now that I'm editing this video, and I do plan on doing some baking this weekend. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you found some inspiration and motivation from it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.